Hello, this is Emergency Management Made Easy with Lauren. I'm Lauren Holley-Allen, and today should be quite interesting. The discussion is class number 42 in the series, Full Scale Emergency Exercise, FSE, in parentheses. I'm calling it Full-Scale Emergency Exercise, the Final Frontier, since this is the last of the three that I'm going to teach today. You will need paper and pencil and a pad, or whatever writing instruments you prefer, but you will need them today. A full-scale exercise is complex in that the simulation mimics a real-time, high-stakes emergency. The purpose is to evaluate at the highest, most intense level an organization's entire response system. So let's look at the entire response system in a nutshell. 1 is policy. 2 is coordination. 3 is personnel deployment. 4, boots on the ground is personnel deployment on the scene. They aren't tabletop exercises where we are meeting and seated at the table, or large-scale meetings, functional exercises in which the emergency management players attend. It involves multi-agency, multi-jurisdiction participation with all hands and boots and personnel on deck. All hands on deck, all personnel. The resources are mobilized to test the following. Pencils up. Communication. Number 5. 6, command structure and procedures in an actual real life environment. Think of yourself as a director of a movie. And as the director of the movie, you are responsible for all pieces of equipment and people who are on scene. Think of that, what that entails. Stay there. Let's move on, because I have a quick quiz question for you. What is interoperability? What does it mean? Remember, this video can be played over and over again. So I'm going to drill down on interoperability. It's spelled I-N-T-E-R-O-P-E-R-A-B-I-L-I-T. Interoperability. Interoperability. So what does it mean? It's the ability of emergency response agencies across different jurisdictions and disciplines, police, fire, emergency medical services, EMS, to communicate and share data in real time, on demand, and as authorized during a crisis. It enables seamless coordination and efficient multi-agency response to emergencies, reducing loss of life and property. Reducing loss of life and property. Key comparisons of full-scale exercises. This is number 3, the full-scale exercise. 7, active simulation. All the pieces are in place. Further stated, unlike tabletop exercises in a physical deployment of first responders and equipment and resources are on the scene. All the pieces, all the trucks, everything you need to address what is happening in that emergency is on the scene. All the players, the people are there on the scene. Just think of yourself. If you were in charge of this large function exercise, full scale, and the person in charge is like the director of it. Think about it. They're doing the job like actors. Trucks are there. Patients are there. Ambulances are there. Okay. Active simulation. Further stated, the tabletop exercise, I repeat, is a physical deployment of first responders and equipment and resources on the scene. They're doing the job like actors on a set, but the conditions are different. First scenario example, written by me. Due to icy conditions, a vehicle falls into the water from a high bridge. The fire department, the emergency medical services, EMS, the police department, the local Coast Guard, and a helicopter team and ambulances, of course, that's the EMS, arrive on the scene. What is their job? To provide assistance. Multi-agency coordination. How does that fit in? It often involves local, state, and federal, as well as private sector partners to test interoperability. Keep that in mind. Realistic scenario. Local, state, and federal government, everybody who is anybody is on the scene. It includes natural disasters, active threats. They are used to pressure command structures, add pressure to the people on the scene who are acting out the emergency. They're making them more difficult or challenging. Each department on site are discussing injects, ideas, and scenarios to address the accident scene that I put in place. What would you do? So what should they be talking about as they're standing there? They're acting out the scene. They're planning what they can do to get this vehicle out of the water. How many people are in the car? Who should respond and how should they respond? I feel like I'm there, discussing it with them. This is what we call unfolding scenario. The injects are ideas, different ideas as to how we're going to pull these people out of the water. Those are the injects. That's the scenario. The changes are being discussed. and who is going to do what, and what is the best way to handle it, because there's a car in the water. They don't have much time to figure it out. That's when you get into pressure command structures, making them more difficult and changing. That's why I wrote it this way, because I'm standing there in my mind on the scene with everyone. How are we going to get them out? How quickly can we get them out? And what's the most proficient way to get the job done? That's pressure. That's command pressure, emergency management. Not actors in a movie, but yet it's still a full-scale exercise, and everyone is there. That's the scenario. You follow me now? Come with me, let's go there. So let's continue this scenario, this example. Okay. So the vehicle is in the water. It's a minivan with a sunroof. We figured that out. Two young children are passengers with their driver, the mom, who is now on the cell phone speaking with local police. So we know who's in the minivan as they are in the water. And it's a stream. The team is challenged. It's what we call an unfolding scenario. We're challenged. But isn't that the whole idea of a full-scale functioning exercise? It's interoperability. We're measuring something, our ability to get it right, to get this woman out of the water with her children and do it in the best way. Wait. I see the Coast Guard are on the scene. Should they get in a boat and go over to the car and try to get everybody out of the car that way? Would the water pressure cause the vehicle, the minivan, to go downstream? Would they be able, they can't open the doors. So if they climb on top of the roof, the minivan, it just seems like there's a lot of activity that could make the situation worse. If the Coast Guard is watching this, please send me an email and I'll give it to you at the end of this to tell me how you might handle it or might not handle it. Well, what we've decided, since I'm on the scene, and it's a general consensus because we got to get moving to save lives. The team is challenged with how they will remove the family from the vehicle. This is the unfolding scenario we discussed, with the hope the tide does not move them further down the running stream. The helicopter team members, the member manages to lower himself and break open the sunroof from the top. The individual family members are lifted out of the vehicle one by one with caution. They are lifted by rope into the helicopter one by one, and lives are saved. There were no fatalities that day. Everyone is safe. So let's look at the didactics, more comprehensive evaluation. Whew. This tests how well the teams operate at their capacity and capability from start to finish. That's why they get a comprehensive evaluation after the emergency. Follow me? After action drill and report. Both will be assessed and written when the exercise concludes. when the exercise concludes, with the detailed evaluation having assessed strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement. Quick quiz question. You know me. What is the difference between a drill and a tabletop exercise and a full-scale exercise? Hopefully you will go back and review my last two videos if you can't answer this right away. Well, a drill is a training focused on testing or developing muscle memory. The goal is to ensure individuals in any environment know exactly what to do in a defined scenario. Fire drill or tornado drill. That's why we train students. If there's a tornado, what to do. So that's why we train people as to how to evacuate. All of that is testing. That's the fire drill. That's one thing. And we talked early on about muscle memory. In the first 3 classes, you go on and you're new at this, you will hear me talk about muscle memory. Learning what to do immediately when there is an emergency. There's a fire, you're going to get out. You got to go. Okay. A full-scale exercise, where we are today with the helicopter and the minivan, is larger and its focus and scope. It tests multiple systems, multiple departments, all partner organizations that are needed. Often the conditions are highly dangerous and complex. Did you see how dangerous and complex that vehicle being in the water with mother and children? Very complex, very dangerous. And all the partners had to move very quickly, all of the organizations that were involved. The participants, stakeholders are emergency medical services, hospital systems, fire services, Homeland Security exercise and evaluation programs. Operates under the Federal Emergency Management Agency and FEMA. FEMA, you wanted me to work closely with you? Here I am. This is your program, and I am talking about it in this setting. So the Emergency Exercise and Evaluation Program, HSEEP, this is FEMA managed standardized methodology for designing, as I designed this scenario, conducting what to do, and evaluating emergency exercises. We did all of that with the helicopter and the water. I don't know, they slipped off the road. It was icy conditions, and we know what that's like. This is February 2026, and we just had ice storms from Boston all the way down to here in Maryland. So we know what this looks like. It includes discussion-based tabletop drills and exercises to validate plans, improve coordination, and identify gaps in preparedness. Again, it enables interoperability, a coordinated and efficient, seamless response to reduce loss of life and property. Well, today we reduced loss of life. Seamless response, I don't know. I'm going to leave it to the professionals who I know watch me. They might have something to say about this particular drill, or I would say large-scale exercise, and whether or not our response was seamless. If that's possible, that a response can be seamless, because there's so many things can go right, but there's so many things that can immediately go wrong, and they can put a command, they can put a demand on your team, and they have to go an entirely different way. Let's say the minivan went downstream. It was on its way. Now what do? The helicopter team had a plan, but the plan went awry. So maybe the Coast Guard would have to figure something out to get to that minivan. I do not know. I'll leave it to people at a higher grade than I ever was. Okay. So these were the guidelines of the organization in which I worked in emergency management. We respected the process which supports employees and partners' continuous improvement in our preparedness efforts. We did. They defined objectives, evaluated teams' performance, lessons learned using after-action reports, AARS, after-action reports, and improvement plans, IPS. This is after this incident. We needed an after-action report, and we needed an improvement plan. How to improve? What could we have done differently with this family in this minivan and the team of professionals who showed up? What could we have done differently? And you know they could have died in the minivan. They could have drowned. We understand the value of preparing for the real thing. That was as close to real as I could get. It's all about preparedness before the event occurs. All about it. Final quick question for the public. How can businesses and individuals prepare at home? Go online to ready.gov. Be sure to update your family emergency plan because we've been talking about families and businesses, small and large, throughout this presentation. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Proper preparation prevents poor performance, ladies and gentlemen. Those are my parting words for you today as you think about all three exercises from tabletop to this, to full scale. Proper preparation. That's what we've talked about. My email address is preparebeforeithappens@outlook.com. I am your trainer. We'll figure something out interesting next week. Thanks for walking me through each exercise during the last 3 weeks. I enjoyed the functional exercise too. And if you missed either of the three, I strongly suggest that you go back and review all of them. And that will give you insight as to how our agency partners in emergency management work together. Maryland National Guard, Coast Guard, police, fire, federal emergency management agencies. There are times when we have to come together to work together. And the question is, when we are exercising, how well do we do the job? Well, how well did I used to do the job? I think I'm a better trainer than I am a responder, but I still learned and I enjoyed being in the room for exercises. Thank you for being here, and preparebeforeithappens@outlook.com is where you can reach me, and I'll see you next week.